You ever feel stuck, like you're caught in this loop of worry that just keeps feeding on itself? Well, that's what we're going to break down right here. We're going to show you how to get out of that vicious cycle and build a virtuous one instead, using a really practical, science-backed blueprint. Let's start with where that whole thing begins.
It's a thought that can just hit you out of nowhere, right? A sudden flutter in your chest, maybe a little twinge of pain, and boom, your mind just leaps to the absolute worst-case scenario. It's a really human and honestly, pretty terrifying experience.
Look, worrying about our health is totally normal. It's basically a survival instinct. But the problem is when that useful little alarm bell gets stuck in the on position, and it turns into this constant state of high alert that just gets in the way of your life.
And this is what we call the health anxiety trap. It's a self-perpetuating cycle. And, just understanding how it works, how the machine is built, is the very first step to taking it apart.
So, what are we really talking about here? Well, health anxiety is basically this persistent worry that kicks off when we misinterpret totally normal things our bodies do. And this isn't about being a hypochondriac or anything like that. It's really just about how our brain is wired to process information.
And this lays it out perfectly. It all starts with something completely harmless, right? Like your heart skipping a beat. Then that thought hits, oh no, something is wrong. And that thought triggers real physical anxiety. Your heart starts beating faster, your chest gets tight, and what does your brain do? It takes those physical feelings as proof, as evidence that the first scary thought was right all along, and around you go.
So how do we actually stop this thing? How do we break the loop? Well, the first tool is one of the most powerful and honestly accessible ones we have, mindfulness. It's all about learning how to hit the pause button.
Okay, I know this looks super complicated, but it's really just the proof in the pudding. This is a visual of how scientists sift through tons and tons of studies to find the good ones. And the bottom line from all this research? Mindfulness really, really works. The science is solid.
But the great news is, you don't need to read a single academic paper to get the benefit. The core practice is so simple, it's free, and you can literally do it right now. It all just comes down to your breath.
So just for a moment, let go of everything else. Just feel the air come into your body and feel it leave. Inhale and exhale. See, conscious breathing anchors you right here, in the present moment. And what it does is it creates this tiny little bit of space between that physical feeling and the immediate panic thought. And that space, that's where you get your control back.
Okay, so mindfulness gives us the pause. It creates that space. But what do you actually do in that space? Well, that's where our next tool comes in handy, challenging the thoughts themselves. And this is the heart of what's called cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. Think of CBT as a way to become your own thought detective. It teaches you how to spot those automatic, unhelpful thought patterns, these thinking errors that are basically pouring gasoline on the fire of your anxiety.
Here's a classic one we all do, catastrophizing. You get a headache and your mind doesn't think, maybe I'm dehydrated or I'm a little stressed. Nope, it leaps straight to the most terrifying possibility imaginable. Just recognizing this as a pattern, as a thinking error, is a huge first step to taking away its power.
Or what about this one? All or nothing thinking. This is the belief that if you're not feeling absolutely 100% perfect, then there must be something seriously wrong. But our bodies are noisy. They have aches and twinges and weird feelings all the time. CBT helps us get comfortable in that middle ground, that gray area of being generally healthy, even with some minor bumps along the way.
All right, so we've got the mental tools to hit the brakes on that negative cycle. Now let's talk about building a whole new positive one, a virtuous cycle. And that really starts with the absolute fundamentals, how we eat, how we move, and how we sleep.
It actually turns out you can literally eat your way to a calmer mind. The science on this is becoming so clear. The more ultra-processed foods we eat, the higher our risk for things like depression. The big, powerful shift is moving from the stuff in the box to the stuff that grows from the ground.
And this right here, this is basically your cheat sheet. The planetary health plate shows you the goal. Half your plate piled high with colorful fruits and vegetables. The rest is a nice balance of whole grains, plant-based proteins, and healthy fats. It's really a blueprint for taking care of your body and your mind.
10 teaspoons. Just picture that for a second. 10 little spoonfuls of sugar. What do you think has that much sugar in it?
Yup, that's how much added sugar is in a single can of soda. And drinking these regularly can actually increase the risk of chronic diseases that just wind up giving us more things to worry about. The best beverage choice you can make? Good old-fashioned water.
Now, let's talk about movement. You might think you need to spend hours and hours at the gym, but get this stat. Just a few 1 to 2 minute bursts of vigorous activity, we're talking taking the stairs fast or running to catch a bus, can have a massive impact on your long-term health. Almost 40%. That's incredible.
And finally, sleep. We all know we need to get enough of it, but what the research is showing more and more is that the quality and the consistency of your sleep are just as critical as how many hours you clock. Poor sleep just amplifies anxiety and makes us way more sensitive to all those little physical sensations.
So how do we get that high-quality sleep? The secret is routine. Our brains absolutely love predictability. So going to bed and waking up around the same time helps stabilize our internal clock. And what you do before bed is just as important. Avoiding big meals, alcohol, and especially that blue light from our phones and screens, it all sends a signal to your brain that it's time to power down, making sure your sleep is actually restorative.
Okay, so we've taken apart that old vicious cycle, and we've gathered all the pieces for a new one. Let's put it all together and look at your new blueprint.
And here it is, your virtuous cycle. See how it works? Instead of anxiety just feeding on more anxiety, each one of these things positively reinforces the others. Mindful moments make it easier to challenge your thoughts. A well-fed, well-rested body is just less likely to have those sensations that trigger anxiety in the first place. It's a powerful upward spiral.
You don't have to do it all at once. In fact, that's kind of the whole point. You break an overwhelming cycle with small, manageable actions. So look at this blueprint right here. What's the one small step, the very first one, that you're going to take today?